I just got to meet this really adorable little girl. She's like 2.5 years old. And I feel like just interacting with her, I understand my child parts better. The way that they comprehend the world, perceive the world, experience themselves, experience language, experience their own physical self-expression, experience their own physical mobility. And it really brings some inspiration for creating a virtual reality program that helps heal age regression, where you get to interact with your child parts or interact with an adult self from the perspective of child parts. And you can even switch or shift back and forth between those perspectives within the virtual reality game set or program to allow for a tangible sense of this vagal system, a vagal complex activation, and just experience that Janina Fisher talks about. Because when you're in therapy, there's all these complications of the attachments going to the therapist. And that alone takes so much training on the therapist's behalf. And even with that, there's so many risks for things that can be activated in the client that there might not be an ability to work through yet, just because of the state of the inner nervous systems, etc. And then when there's an individual trying to do the work on their own the way I have, it presents all these other roadblocks because of the way different parts experience the face and understand that emotional engagement and stuff like that. And so it's not always physically possible. But in a virtual reality, the attachments wouldn't be risks to go to another person because you're still just interacting with yourself. And you could create and shape the characters to be physically perceived as whatever you identify with internally. And the program could be completely at your own pace, unlike a therapy thing where you're meeting once a week and it's limited, but it's also whatever happens. Like, you can't just pause your therapist and come back an hour or a day later. It doesn't work that way. And that creates challenges too, because if something gets activated, you can't just walk away. You have to push through it, and then it becomes this whole thing. I really see virtual reality being a big key for healing age regression in the future. And witnessing that little girl really gave me a lot of hope, because I feel like I can understand my parts better, and I feel like my parts got to engage and my adult self got to engage, and it was just like this all-around healing experience. And it was just a few moments with a random little girl that I didn't know before this morning. So if that's possible, just imagine the endless things that would be possible in VR. Like the setting of where you are and what you're doing. Like, you could have a little girl in a ballerina class. You could have kids playing at a park. You could be going and visiting the zoo with your child parts. You could have all these different experiences where you get to be both the adult and the child part, or one or the other, depending on, where things are at. You get to choose the perspective and really just create new memories and engage with your consciousness in a very powerful way. Yeah, I see it. Like, I see what's possible. And this is really something I want to pursue. And the differentiation with age regression and Moppet states of consciousness, we realize, is the Moppet state of consciousness describes the low energy dissociative state experienced within the consciousness. Age regression specifically describes the neurodevelopmental specifics from an early childhood age through latency. And so there might be some overlap, I've realized. You might be in a Moppet state and experiencing age regression, but that's the key differentiator. Moppet state describes the low energy dissociative state of consciousness, whereas age regression describes the neurodevelopmental specifics from the young ages. So we'll keep creating the spectrum, and I think that will really help when we create this program.